Welcome back, everybody, to another episode of the Boiler Express podcast. Looks like my co-host here may have had a little bit of a technical issue, but he's working his way back in.
I thought we had the video. I thought I had a minute.
Yeah. Okay, gotcha. Yeah, you got to use those little gaps, but this is live. This is live television, ladies and gentlemen.
Yeah, that happened when I was on the Big Ten huddle with JR. Like he played the intro video and it just flashed and it was over, and I was like, okay. I think the same thing just happened on my end, so I apologize. But we're here. It's been a while since we talked. Last time we talked, it was pre-Auburn, so we're 3-1 in basketball over the last 4 games since we talked. I feel like there's been a roller coaster of emotions, which is, completely uncharacteristic for the Purdue fan base. Frank, I know you can concur on that. Like, we're usually a pretty level-headed fan base, so it's been kind of interesting. But also football, we've signed a lot of players now. As the bowl games have started concluding, the floodgates have kind of opened, and we went from having a handful to no transfers to now we're at like over 25, I think, maybe nearing 30. So it's been a lot of action. If you're a diehard, which if you're listening to this, you're pretty much a diehard because you're finding every scrap of Purdue info you can. There's been a lot of info, but at the same time, it's all these players that you go, hey, we got this receiver, and it's like you look at their stats and they have 3 catches over 3 years, and you're like, oh, okay, so maybe they just didn't get their opportunity. We'll see what happens. But how you feeling, Frank, over the last few weeks? How was your holidays? What'd you think?
Holidays were great. It's good to get caught up on some things needing done around the house, and to watch the sports, to follow everything going on with football, to see what's going on with basketball. And Dylan has just graced us with his presence. Good evening, Dylan. How are you?
I had to run here.
You had to run here. Well, that's good. Is that a Villanova hat?
No, it's my high school.
Oh, okay. Yeah, and it looked like kind of the Villanova.
It's supposed to be like 2 V's. Yeah. No,
Valley Day. Is that what it was? What did he say?
Valley Woe. I don't know. You guys texted in the group chat, and I was like, it's Tuesday.
Yeah, so Dylan, I've decided today I'm going to be a hat person. So feeling it out. I don't think I've ever really worn a hat in my life. This is Smoky Mountains.
Nice. Is that Smokey the Bear?
And it is, yeah.
Hell yeah.
Yeah. So we were just talking about how we feel about the last few weeks, football, basketball. You want to throw your thoughts in there?
Yeah. Well, I guess we'll start with football. Filling out the coaching staff has been exciting. I think he's got some good quality guys there, and Coach O, as Cody there called him, and is how I will like to call him from now on, did a pretty good job. He's kept it steady with good talent coming in. It's like every day you hear about a new guy coming in through the portal, which is pretty exciting. So I think he's and if you're gonna like compare him to Walter's first few weeks on campus, it's a lot more low key. Like there's not a lot of, in the way of like him on Twitter, like dancing in his car and stuff, which was fine. That's how Walt wanted to do it. I'm not like bad. That's not me bashing Walters. It shows me that Odom is a businessman. Like he's strictly business.
And my memory of what happened and how things went down right after Walters was hired, it's a little bit skewed, I think, because we talked about.
Is your mic plugged in?
Me?
Yeah, you're a little.
No, better to ask me that now.
Well, you joined late. Now you're interrupting Frank mid thought. You better respect the big brain.
Listen, I'm trying to give the people the best audio they can have for our lovely voices, especially Frank. Frank has a voice for radio and a face for television.
Yeah.
So Russ, how's things? How's the nursing home?
Yeah, I was going to say too about the Coach O thing. You were just being kind. You're being kind that you just don't like older people. That's that's what it is. So you're trying to say that you want the hype, you want the connection with the youths, and we don't have it. It's fine. It's fine. He's getting the job done.
Are you saying our listener base is older?
I would say the diehards that dig in are probably maybe a little bit older.
I mean, Cody's a youngin. Cody, how old are you? Let's guess how old Cody is.
Well, wow, that's how we're doing the show today. Listeners, put your age in the comments, please.
We're trying
to take that wrong. Dylan's just curious.
No, listen, you just got to make it weird. I bet Cody's like 23.
Wow, and you're guessing. That makes I made it weird. Now you're guessing ages.
It's Cody. He's a day one A1. Like Cody
I'm
is.
gonna guess closer to 30 then.
Oh, that's
Because I
rude.
feel like when you get this stage, when you're like really getting into like, let's watch some podcasts on Produce Sports, I feel like you're closer to pushing 30 at least. It's like you're what 26, 27, Dylan?
I'm 28, big dog.
28. See, that's what I'm saying. That's what I'm saying. That's
Saying
like
that's
that's age
this
range.
is when life kind of slows down.
Look, you made Frank so mad he left, dude.
Oh, Cody and I are the same age.
Oh,
He's
hey, what did
28.
I tell you? I said he was a little closer.
He just looks so youthful. I didn't know.
Oh yeah. Now you compliment everybody but me. I got it. That's cool. That's cool, man.
Yep. Excuse me taking a
Oh,
large drink.
we got Frank back.
Yeah, can you guys hear me?
Yep,
Yes.
we got you.
Still a little echoey,
Oh,
but
no,
we
I don't know what's happening, and I apologize for this, but I'm literally clicking on my microphone, and it's just not.
I mean, we can hear you. It's like that's not an issue. I wanted to give you a heads up.
No, I appreciate that.
Wow, I mean, Russ is just such a scumbag. He didn't think to say anything before the show started.
There it is. It was like 10 seconds where you said something negative. So
in reality,
I was actually the one that literally said, "Who else is joining us?" So you're welcome.
if it wasn't for that, I wouldn't probably be here.
Yeah.
I legit ran downstairs, had to set everything up, and I get on here. Hey guys, how's it going?
Yeah,
I'm just
so,
glad Russ actually has a microphone.
Can you all deal with the quality of the sound? 'Cause
Like I said, I can hear you. I just didn't know if you wanted to.
I click on my mic and then it flips to it for a second and then flips right back. So
are you saying it's not as sultry as the pre-recorded commercial that he has his voice on?
Yeah.
Welcome to CBB basketball,
college basketball,
and the little swanky music we put on there. Listen, our female demographic just shot up that first episode.
Well, so anyway, so since we're on a fun topic, let's go ahead and talk about the college football playoff. What are you guys' thoughts on that? Like, I know it's not a necessarily relative thing, but I know there's been a lot of chatter about that. I actually talked about that with some guys today at work that they're more SEC fan based fans, and of course, if you're SEC, you're anti everything going on right now because you're sucking. So they're coming up with all these negative takes about it's blowouts, it's not competitive, it's the boring college football playoff. And I told them what we've talked about before is that like 2/3 of the college football playoff games up to this season were decided by 17 or more points, like 3+ possessions. And I think almost half were 20 or more points. So, I think it's been entertaining. I think it was really cool to see games on campus, seeing the festivities of the bowl games for the quarterfinal round was cool. I feel like, the teams that got the buys got to feel a little bit robbed because all 4 of them laid an egg. But I think it'd be cool to see some more games on campus. But other than that, I've been excited. I mean, obviously the Big Ten's looking pretty decent. I think we're going to be getting an Ohio State, Penn State national title game. If you ask me what's going to happen, but
all Big Ten, baby.
I think it's been cool. I think we're on the way to more teams, which I think is what it should be. I think it should be closer to the FCS format where you've got 24 teams. You've got the conference champions actually getting a home game to start the playoff.
Oh,
so I think that'd be
the FCS format. Has 24 teams.
They do 24 teams, and they do it similar to baseball too. So they do it somewhat by pod. Like they do seeding for like the buys, but then after that they select all the teams, but then they try to get you close to your region. So you might get kind of bumped up or bumped down as far as the toughness in your part of the bracket, but you'll play a game closer to home, which helps the fan base be more bought in, which helps attendance be better. So I kind of like how they do that format. And I think that's what we're headed towards with the FBS, especially with, Alabama, South Carolina getting snubbed. If the SEC is getting snubbed by something, they're going to change it so that it helps the SEC.
I mean, really, it's just North Dakota winning it every year. So, I mean, Damon, I pulled a Dylan. Hey, it happens. I had to run downstairs, set my laptop up, all the good stuff, and now I was like, I got in. I was.
Did you almost go Irish there? Set me laptop up.
Set my laptop up. Do a little Irish jig. God, why do I do this to myself?
Frank, please talk.
Talk. We need the adult.
So can you guys still hear me?
I've been playing around with
stuff. Okay, so so I'm glad you brought up the playoffs because this kind of segues into one of the things I wanted to ask you. But let's start with something that isn't Purdue related, but is, let's say, the hate. I don't have a better term, but is the shade getting thrown in IU's direction warranted and justified?
Yes.
You think?
Man,
yeah.
it's funny because I've spent a lot of this season ribbing anybody in our group chat that says something positive towards IU, but I don't think it's justified. I think, if it wasn't the first game of the playoffs, I don't know how you would be as hard on them because they were closer to Notre Dame than Georgia was. Right? They gave them more of a ball game than what Georgia did. And if you watch that game with Notre Dame and IU, it was kind of fluky the way the Notre Dame got their initial 17-3 lead. And then it took them a while to add another touchdown late to go up 24-3. And everybody's trying to say, well, Notre Dame was up 24-3 at one point, so it wasn't really a ball. Okay, well, you can't count Notre Dame's late touchdown and not count, the late scores for IU. So, I think that they definitely deserved. And that's one debate I've gotten into with a lot of guys, especially if you're talking about Bama fans, SEC fans, is, they go, well, do you want the 12 best teams or the 12 most deserving teams? Well, it should be deserving teams, right? Like Alabama is a better team than Oklahoma. I'll admit that. I will say Alabama this season especially is a better team than Oklahoma. But what happened when they played? They got smacked 24-3. So you still got to win the game. I don't care if you're a better team or not. If you're saying let's just put the 12 best teams in the playoff, well then let's play 6 regular season games and just go, well, that team looks better, so we'll put them in. It doesn't matter what their record is. Like you've got to earn it still. They lost to 2 unranked teams in Vandy and Oklahoma that if Oklahoma hadn't beat Alabama, they wouldn't even gone to a bowl game. So it's, I think that it's fine the way it was. I think the one thing that maybe got screwed up, or maybe go 2 things, but the one thing for sure was that the conference champions should not automatically get a bye. I don't think. I agree with the exemptions for them. Like I agree that you've got to get a representation of conference champions in there because 8 or 9 of your games, so 3/4 of your schedule is against your own conference, and then the non-con games are usually Eastern Illinois and Stetson, and so it's hard to compare conferences, even though historically, obviously, the SEC and the Big Ten have kind of been better over the last few years. But so still put the ACC champion in, still put, if the Mountain West is the best group of 5, still put the Big 12 champion, whatever, but put them in kind of where they're seated. Automatically put them in there, but if they're ranked like 14th, put them in at the 12th slot. If they're ranked 13th, put them in at the 11th spot, that so forth. Because I think that the games would have been a lot better and especially better suited for Oregon because Oregon was the best team all season, right? And what they get rewarded with? A Rose Bowl game against Ohio State. They didn't get a home game. They didn't get an easier matchup like a Boise State or an Arizona State. They got what looks like the best team in the country right now.
I like your SEC voice there. That was perfect.
Well, and the reason I brought up IU is because as I look at Purdue and what Purdue has done in the transfer portal this season, we've kind of taken the opposite approach, a similar approach to what we did last season. We've taken guys who haven't played a lot, where we saw Chris Ignetti take players who have played a lot of minutes and a lot of snaps at Group of 5 schools and had a lot of success. He came in, obviously went to the playoffs, had a great season. But when I think back to previous seasons, Purdue has done well with taking guys that just haven't played. I mean, Charlie Jones comes to mind. Remember how irate Iowa fans were? They're like, "Hey, this guy's been was on our roster for 3 years, and he goes to Purdue and has this amazing season, and all he did was return punts." I mean, and they were bashing Kirk Ferentz for. So I'm not necessarily concerned, let's say, about the record. I mean, obviously, some of these guys are really good and really talented and had a lot of offers coming out of high school. But do you think that talent and playing time are direct replacements for one another, or should we be looking to get guys who have played more snaps than some of the guys we're bringing in?
Well, I mean, look at Devin Mockabee, right? He's a walk-on that, Markel Jones talked about going to the spring game before his freshman season and saying, dude, that Mockabee kid's going to be awesome if he gets an opportunity. So it's there's still talent down a lot of these depth charts that sometimes just don't ever see the field. So I'm not completely, writing off a dude that had 3 catches in 3 years because he might come in and be great. Like you said, we had great luck with Charlie Jones, great luck with Tyrone Tracy out of
Chuck Sizzle.
Yeah, Chuck Sizzle, man.
Sorry, I cannot not say his nickname.
But I mean, he's a Bengal too, so you're definitely bought in.
Been injured. We didn't make the playoffs. Shout out to the Jets and Broncos.
Well, because the Chiefs supposedly threw their game.
Did I send that in the group chat?
Yeah, you did.
I
You did.
could not believe it. No, it's just they rested all their Hall of Famers. Let's relax. Shout out George Karlaftis.
Yeah, hey, many Pro Boilers right now on both sides, right?
There
NFL
really
and
is.
NBA.
There's
You know,
really
you got ED doing his thing.
Tyrone Tracy's killing it.
Yeah,
Corey
thoughts and
Trice had
prayers
a
to Jay Ivey.
tough night the other night.
I don't
for
talk
Corey
about
Trice.
the Steelers. I refuse.
But anyways, yeah. So as far as like getting a guy that doesn't have much playing time or doesn't have much stats to put out there, I'm not really too worried about it. I know like the diehards are reading into every transfer we sign and what their stats are and what they could do for the team. And, you know, it really just comes down to we're not going to know until the ball gets kicked off in September or late August, whenever our season starts. So it really just comes down to that. Like, you know, that we've talked about before that a guy could have 4 stars and come in and dud, or a guy could come in like a walk-on and, you know, set a freshman rushing record for Purdue, or a guy can come in ranked 400 something and be a 2-time national player of the year in basketball. So it just comes down to more the coaching scheme. And I think that's what we kind of learned with Walters is, you know, it was his first shot as a head coach and we wish him nothing but success, but you know, you've got to get the right coaches in place and the talent that fits the scheme, not necessarily just go and get the best talent and then try to mold them to what the coaches are doing.
And if Brom would quit taking our guys, that'd be cool too.
And
I can't wait till that bridge is burned, man.
I know. I set that up for Frank because I know
Yeah.
Frank had words for it.
Yeah, well, that's the thing is I have to watch him play a couple times this season.
Yeah.
That's because I go to a couple of Louisville games and I have to go watch
Yeah,
him
we're
play.
Frank and I are very close to the Ville.
Yeah.
Not
It'd be
Louisville.
different if it was a land far away, like it kind of is for you, Dylan. Like you don't have to see it all the time. You don't have to see you have to see them on billboards driving down the highway. Like
That would no, but I have it worse. I have it worse.
that's true. Yeah,
I have Ohio
you
State.
really
Like that's
Yeah,
what I got.
yeah. Dylan has Ohio State.
Oh,
He's
shut
sitting there
up,
going,
Frank.
He's like, man, oh, Purdue's players are going to Louisville. Well, my Ohio State Buckeyes are in the semifinals. Let's go.
I hate you. I hate you so much. Sorry, I didn't mean Frank. I meant Russ. You had me such in a tizzy. I was yelling at
And
Frank.
it's like I don't know what I did. Yeah.
No,
But
Russ
interestingly-
accuses me of being an Ohio State fan, and I hate him for it. And
Well,
then I
it's-
said I like Marcus Freeman, and Lord, you would have thought I said something terrible. I mean, the guy's
I
from my
also
neck
like
of the
Marcus
woods.
Freeman.
He's from my
But
neck of the woods. Of course, I'm going to root for the guy.
It's it's kind of like for me, Dylan. Like you have to root for the local team to a degree. So like I have to watch Louisvil. I have to hope they do well. So
I mean, do I root for Ohio State? Not necessarily. When have I? No, this is fake news. Okay, I like Eric and Chris and JR and they're all Ohio State friends, fans and friends.
I know the 3 of us. Real quick poll. Raise your hand if you went to a Ohio State football game in person when they weren't playing Purdue this year.
You son of a gun. The tickets were free. What did you want me to do? Go watch bad football with Purdue? No, I decided for one weekend I'm going to go watch some good football. And it was awesome because Jeremiah Smith, dog. Howard, dog. Like it was a good time. And I had a few brewskis. So like don't come at me like that.
Okay, next question in the poll. Raise your hand if you went on an Ohio State football podcast multiple times during the season, not around the time they were playing Purdue.
Listen,
Okay, I rest my case, Your Honor.
They pay me good. No, I'm just kidding. They didn't pay me a dime. No, I like Eric. We did. Oh, I even watched the game live. But no. Listen, Your Honor. Let me state my case here. Listen, they were playing Indiana, so I was openly dogging IU the entire time because I knew they would have gotten boat raced by Ohio State, and they did. So I was more of a dogging Indiana than I was rooting for Ohio State. I don't like this. Why did I come on tonight?
I don't know how we got on this. This is what happens when
I'm leaving too, Frank.
Frank's like, this is ridiculous.
Russ is pissing me off today. I'm just kidding.
Okay, well, let's talk about something positive, Purdue. Then let's switch to the round ball, the basketball. How do you feel about Purdue basketball? I feel like I've kind of doubled down on my take last time we talked, which is that we're more in a mode of let's kind of figure things out and be ready for March. We don't care so much about the outcomes right now. We want to get other guys involved. We want to see how much our big 3 can carry us, and then make sure that the other pieces are ready to go to support us come March. And I don't think we're barely going to make the tournament. I don't think we're heads and shoulders above the rest of the Big Ten, but I do think we're still a top 3 or 4 program in the Big Ten, and that's shown by the last couple of games, right? Like we get into Big Ten play, and if you talked after the Auburn game, people were like, "Yeah, we're clearly not the same team without Edey," which is true. But it's like, man, I don't know. We might be a 10 seed or we might have to play in a play-in game or whatever. And it's like, dude, we played 2 Big Ten games, and the game that we lost was a road game to a solid Penn State squad. And now we get back into Big Ten play, and we've trounced our first 2 opponents. And it looks like we've figured some things out to roll on offense. And we're playing at a Rutgers team that's like 1 game above 500. And then we get a Nebraska team at home that's while they played great at their place, they haven't done so great on the road, and it's still tough to win on the road in the Big Ten. So we could be looking at 5-1 our first 6 games in the Big Ten, and all of a sudden it's like, oh, is the sky not falling now? Like, are we back on the bandwagon?
You mean to tell me Purdue fans freak out over little things? What?
Oh, you missed the beginning of it. It's very uncharacteristic to have. Wow,
characteristic. Nailed it.
Very uncharacteristic of Purdue fans to have a roller coaster promotion.
Is that you?
Where's Ryan Day at? Where's Fuck Day at?
He dyes his beard, that Ryan Day. You talk about the University of Notre Dame. He really puts.
You would have loved the Joel Klatt show the other day. He said Ryan Day looks like the evil villain in like a Mario movie.
He does.
The way his hair is like so heavily dyed.
Dye his beard. You can't tell me he does it.
And mustache.
And stash. But I mean, like, more power to him. Listen, I got a few grays coming in. I'm getting older, getting wiser. But I would never die. Why would he die at anyway? This is dumb. Back to basketball. Back to the round ball.
Frank, we transitioned to basketball while you stepped out.
Yeah, no, I mean, like,
we didn't mean to run you off with the Ohio State talk.
Oh no, that's good. I was just trying to fix my microphone, which it just doesn't want to work.
Hey, no matter microphone or not, you still sound handsome.
Yeah.
Okay, we still love you. We don't look down at you for not having the microphone working. But no, I agree. I think they need to gel together. There's going to be rough spots, and listen, shocker, you lose the best player to ever play in a program, and there's going to be a little adjusting issues. That's going to happen. No duh. The fact anybody ever thought that losing Zach Edey wasn't going to hurt us in any way is wild, because of course you lose 1, a 7'4" center, 2, National Player of the Year, 3, got us to a Final Four, 4, a handsome devil. I was trying to think of a 4th thing and I couldn't. C, B, 9, 4. But no, of course there's going to be a little bit of growing pains, and it's a younger team, and of course we got vets, and with the younger guys it's a good mix. But like, yeah, we lose the best player in program history. Of course there's going to be some growing pains. So I'll take a collective deep breath and relax. Okay, chill out. Frank?
And Steve Dillon, I feel like if you ask fans that before the season, you had said, hey, are there going to be some growing pains? I'd be like, yeah, for sure, because it makes sense. We lost Zach Edey, we lost National Player, 2-time National Player of the Year. There are going to be growing pains. But then when they actually happen, it's like the sky's falling. It's like, wait, no, this is what we expected. This is what we knew was going to happen.
Exactly.
But I mean, I've heard all sorts of things. I've heard we'll be lucky to make the tournament. I've heard we're a play-in team. I mean, all these types of things. I just don't think our fan base knows how to handle being a good team, but not necessarily an elite team. And it took a long time to even get to this like perennial good team position that we are. And like, how many teams can say that? 5, maybe 7 teams that are, let's say Baylor, UConn now, Duke, North Carolina's having it down. I mean, it's just, there's not many teams that over the last decade, it's just, they're a lock for the tournament. I'm outside of maybe 5 to 7. So, to be in that position is a pretty good, but we just don't know how to handle being a good but not elite team. And I think one of the things that gets lost is that in our losses, all of our losses have been to really good defensive teams. And we have a young team. Like we have a really young team, and we've just gotten spoiled with having Zach Edey. We've gotten spoiled with, oh crap, the play breaks down, give it to the 7'4" guy, let him do his thing. He's going to score. He's going to get fouled. I mean, that was always just the safety valve. And I just think we're spoiled, and we're figuring out how to play. We're figuring out how to adjust to that. But speaking of adjustments, I mean, CJ Cox, Caleb First.
Well, so, okay, I want to stop you real quick before we get into that. So, Speaking of spoiled, okay, I've said before some pretty strong things about Trey Kaufman-Renn, right?
No.
Also, similarly about Braden Smith, I think Braden Smith's going to go down as the best point guard in Purdue history. So I still think we're a little spoiled in that aspect. But then let's talk Trey Kaufman-Renn. He's our leading scorer at 17.8 points a game right now, and he hasn't even had some of his best games late, right? Braden Smith's kind of started to carry us a little bit, right? So, you start to think about what are the best bigs that Painter's had, since he's been at Purdue. And obviously, Edey's the top, right? After that, I feel like Juwan Johnson's got to be up there. If you consider front court, Robbie Humble's got to be up there. But then after that, what's that?
You got to call out Swanigan too. I mean, he only played 2 years, but he was awesome.
Rest in peace, Biggie.
Yeah, he's one of the few guys I didn't look at. But let's talk about AJ Hammonds, Isaac Haas, and Travion Williams. What do you think their best season was points per game for Purdue?
Who are the 3 guys again?
Hammonds, Haas, and Travion.
Points per game, best seasons.
Yeah.
Hammonds, his senior year, he really came on. I think it maybe around the same, maybe around 17 his senior year. Well, I think his senior year was his best year by far. And then who are the other ones?
Haas and Travion.
Yeah, Haas was either like 20 or 5 every game. Like he wasn't a consistent, guy. So I would say, let's say 12 or 13 for him. And then Travion, was in and out of the starting lineup, throughout his career, but I'll say 15.
What do you think, Dylan?
I will second what the big brain said.
I figured you wouldn't have anything new. That's fine. No, yeah. So you were kind of spot on with as far as your production takes. Hammond's senior year was his best year, but he was still at only 15 points a game.
Okay. Wow.
Haas's senior year, he was at 14.7. Travion was a little bit different. Like you said, he started split time, especially his senior year. He came off the bench, but his junior year, he averaged 15.5 a game. So Trey Kaufman-Renn is still, 2 points a game is pretty significant, as far as talking about. And he's also done it much more consistently, as you pointed out, with somebody like Haas, who goes 25. I feel like a bad game for Kaufman-Renn right now is maybe 12 or 14 points, but then he'll go off and score 20 plus. So I think Kaufman-Renn is, I would put him right now. It'd be hard for me to not put him in the top 5 of best bigs, best front court players that Painter's had so far. And that's, you call that contemporary or, current bias towards who's on the roster.
Recency bias.
Recency bias. There we go. Thank you, Dylan. I knew you shaking your mic like you had the answer.
You know me. I'm good at words.
So happy. But yeah, I think Kaufman-Renn is, you talk about his agility, that spin move, his ability to not have to always dunk, but I feel like some of our big men have struggled at times with that little 3 to 4 foot kind of bunny hop shot, but he's got that down. That was one of the big things that made Edey elite was his little jump hook. But I think Kaufman-Renn is also one of the better bigs, and we'll see him improve even more next year, right? When he has somebody like Jacobson, and even now, I think first the role that he's starting to play is starting to allow Kaufman-Renn to have, get much more into his bag and be much more productive for this team.
Is your microphone underwater? You going scuba diving up there?
Russ, all of a sudden you sounded like you were underwater there just for a second.
You're like,
Scuba Steve.
There you go. You sound great now.
Good
job.
Okay.
But one thing I want to call out too that hasn't been mentioned yet about Trey Kaufman-Renn is his decision making and his ability to be utilized as a decision maker. That's one thing that's been used a lot to get Braden out of those hard hedge pressure scenarios has been the short roll. Give the ball to Trey Kaufman-Renn at the free throw line and let him make a decision. He's either going to go and score or he's going to spray it out to a shooter. Travion Williams is a good passer, was probably a better passer than Trey Kaufman-Renn. Trey Kaufman-Renn's not far behind, and we never use Travion Williams as a decision maker. We use him as a, hey, you're going to score or you're going to pass out to a guy. And he got fancy and had the ability to pass really well, but he takes some of that burden off of Braden Smith and with that. And that's something that we did a little bit with Matt Harms, we did a little bit with Grady, but I don't think we've really seen to the degree. So he's really a unique big in that sense, but man, he's just got to keep his emotions under control. Only thing I have to say negatively, he's just got to keep his emotions under control because he seems like a guy who gets a little hot-headed at times. But
yeah, you can tell when he gets frustrated. He doesn't have a good poker face. It's very obvious when he's getting real pissed off.
Also, I love the fact that he looks like he's from the 90s.
Yeah,
I love that. He's got the little thin mustache. Yeah, He's kind of got like
still,
the flat top going to a degree. Like it's a good look.
I'm still getting used to the no dreads. Like after a while there, I was like, who is the O?
Yeah, but no, he's been great, and it's crazy to think that he is our leading scorer, Russ, because no one's like, here come Trey Kaufman-Wren and the Boilermakers. It's always Braden Smith, but like Braden Smith doesn't even lead in scoring right now, which is kind of a mind bender. But really, I mean, he had a game this season where he didn't even score. Right? It was one of the home non-con games.
Braden?
Yeah, pretty sure he had a game where he scored 0 points.
When it comes to numbers, I do trust Frank.
Yeah, I trust him too, but I feel like he may still have a
zero points against Marshall. Yep.
Wow. Okay.
Did he sit?
No. He just was looking to distribute. I mean, he had 9 assists. So
well, there you go.
I mean, he only took 4 shots. It wasn't like he was chucking them up or anything. Yeah. But yeah, he started 0 for 2 from 3, and then just thought, okay, I'll just facilitate today. But yeah, his confidence, man, is through the roof. Did you all see the clip that's going around on Twitter of him putting the freshman from Northwestern on skates and then pointing to the bench and saying, get him out of here?
Yeah.
Dude, his ability to
get
his shot, like, so I was watching today, and shout out Great Ossibor, because when I was watching some of the highlights of Northwestern, it immediately rolled into the condensed game against Utah State in the tournament last year, and I was like, oh yeah, we did play Great Ossibor last year, who's now on Washington this year. But Braden Smith, even compared to last year in that tournament run, and especially his freshman year, he can find his shot so much more at an elite level now than he ever was before. Like his freshman year, it was like, dude, you still got to try to look for a shot. But now it's like he can put dudes on skates. He's got an NBA level like double step back. And then as soon as you start to try to bite on the step back, he'll blow by you and hit a layup. And if you're somehow up in his grill and you get help, he's going to find the open dude. Like he is legit going to go down in my mind as the best point guard that's played for Matt Painter and maybe in Purdue history. And we haven't even got to Fletcher Lawyer, right? Fletcher Lawyer's on pace to have the best 3-point percentage season in Purdue history. So,
which is crazy to me, because I still feel like Dakota Mathias was better. I don't know why. And I still feel like Sasha was better.
So here's the thing, and I'll give you that. I think that, Sasha, Dakota, you talk about Ryan Klein, you talk about Ryan Smith, some of the great 3-point shooters we had, DJ Bird, shout out Birdman. The thing about Fletch is he's doing other things better than what he's giving credit for as well, too. I think his defense has gotten much better. His ability to score close to the rim and driving to the rim is much better. So I think you're not taking just not only one of the best 3-point shooters we've ever had, he's got a lot more of a bag than I think some of those other guys that have come before him have. Like we're not always running plays for him to just spot up and come off 3 picks and hit a 3. Like he's able to get in transition and force the issue and get to the bucket and then maybe find somebody. And there's games like he shot 1 3 and missed against Northwestern. So he doesn't also always, that's not his only trick in the bag. If you know what I mean.
Yeah, but he did hit the pull-ups just inside the line. He hit the one pull-up around the free throw line, and he's added some driving ability. He's taken 73 twos this season so far. He took 161 last season total.
Oh,
that
wow.
includes the postseason. So he's on pace to break that. So I think what you're saying, Russ, is that we're seeing a shift in we're seeing some addition to his arsenal. So he's not just going to be a catch and shoot guy like some of those other guys were. I mean, Ryan Klein has the best step back 3 in Purdue history so far. And Fletcher can do that. And Fletcher had the crazy bank at Minnesota. I mean,
every time I see Grant Williams in an NBA uniform, I think about that step back.
Yep.
Oh yeah, yeah, and he's one of the better defenders in the NBA too. Go figure. But there was no defending that shot. That's
the icing on the cake too. Is when it's a clip of Grant Williams and they talk about him being a great defender, and I go, yeah, I had that one play against Purdue.
Remix. First, you're scuba diving underwater. Now you're doing remixes.
Yeah, that kind of sounds like someone
wiki.
On the spin
DJ
tape.
Rusty Rust
cool,
in the streets.
Yeah, but
Stop it. You're too Caucasian.
So anyway, so let's get back into it. You were talking about CJ Cox and
CJ Cox and CJ Cox, Caleb first. So those two get inserted in the starting lineup against Minnesota. After the fact, Painter said it was purely a matchup thing, which I get it. Dawson Garcia is a tough guard. it made more sense to have Caleb First out there guarding him. He's a little bit faster, a little bit more mobile. I would say he's probably our best defender at the 5 position, or at least our most mobile defender. And it just worked. I mean, like things went really well at Minnesota. We missed a lot of shots in the first half. In the second half, we ended up winning by around 20. Then come the last game against Northwestern, we see that starting lineup again. It just seemed to work. I mean, we got up 11-2 and never looked back in that game. Also, we saw Brooks Barnheiser lose some teeth, which is one of the more wild things that I've seen in a basketball game in a while.
I thought Russ had lost his dentures. I didn't know he was sitting courtside. So glad to hear.
Yeah, because I had the volume really low, and I was putting away dishes. What was that?
Shut up, Russ. Go ahead, Frank.
No, I had the volume really low, and I was putting away dishes when that happened. And so I look up and I see like, okay, there's a timeout. And then I see the replay, and I'm like, did he just spit out teeth? Like, did that just happen?
Well, listen, as a hockey guy, it happens all the time. I'm used to it.
I mean,
you ever seen hockey before, boy?
And you see him on the bench just smiling, and he's missing his 2 front teeth. I'm like,
that is wild.
Yeah.
But they were like,
and it's
they weren't real.
You just missed it, man.
They were like fake teeth, right?
They were fake teeth because he got his real teeth knocked out just a few days prior, apparently. So, so that was crazy.
And they'll never say that about Dylan's family ever again.
Hey, Barnheiser, just ask Russ here what paste he uses to get his dentures to stick, and he'll help you out.
Hey, I'm impressed that you said his name correctly because last season you didn't even know who he was. When I was like,
he was on the huddle.
Barnheiser's on the college huddle, and he's like, "Who?
I was like, who's this
not
guy?"
Only from the Lafayette area, he's playing in the Big Ten. Like, all right.
I think I texted JR or Ket, and I was like, "Hey, who's the new guy?" Like, I thought he was a Northwestern podcast representative. I didn't know he played for the damn team. That was bad. That was tough.
They love their alliteration in that team because you gone from Boo Booey to Brooks Barnheiser. So the next guy is going to be, Brad Bowen. I don't know.
Brad Bowen. See, okay, I got to roast Northwestern for wearing black and gold uniforms at Mackey. Like, one of the lamest things I've ever seen in my life. They're not even remotely your colors. You are purple and white. What do you do? Like, okay, you want black and gold uniforms? Great. Whatever. You want to be like us. We get it. We're great.
I think the scoreboard was a pretty good roast.
It was. And whatever. But like, dude, like, don't even like your colors are different to begin with, like purple and white in the FBS. Like, there's a few other purple teams, but like Northwestern and I get maybe it's because I'm a Big Ten guy, but the first purple team I always think of is Northwestern. Yeah. You have a great
Every time
colors.
I see a team like that wear black, I think about Stu mentioning that with the black uniforms we played with Tiller, that other schools that their main colors aren't even black and they want to wear blackout uniforms. So
Ohio State.
Yeah, exactly. So I'm gonna read this question for you here, Frank, that you pulled up. Frank Cody has a question. He says, is Braden acting like MJ when he returned from his 18 months retirement, that everyone knows what he's going to do, and TKR is stepping up to lead, be a team leadership position?
Sorry. Yeah, Russ, you went into DJ mode there again for a second. So I'll address the first part about Braden Smith. To me, I feel like Braden would be a nightmare to guard for the opposite reason, and that you don't know what he's going to do, at least in my opinion. Because, I mean, you really have a big decision to make. Are you going to double him and force the ball out of his hands where he's really good? Or are you going to play him one-on-one and dare him to score where he's really, really good? I mean, it's a pick your poison scenario. So in that regard, I don't necessarily think it's like MJ where like Michael Jordan was more like this is what I'm going to do and I dare you to guard it. It's honestly more like we approached it with Zach Edey. Like, this is what we're going to do. We're going to get the ball in. We're going to let him score, and we dare you to try to stop it. As far as TKR, yeah, I think he's stepping up into a leadership position. Definitely off the court, I see it. I still feel like Braden's kind of the on the court guy, but I mean, TKR, he says some things in interviews and press conferences and stuff where he just kind of speaks his mind, and he feels comfortable talking about whatever he wants. And to me, that says he feels like he's in a leadership position and he knows what he's doing. So yeah, I definitely agree with that.
Our thumbnail for this episode is going to be just Braden and Michael Jordan in the same graphic.
I'm glad it's not gonna be my teeth that Brooks Barnheiser spit out.
Oh no, that's a good. I'm gonna add that in the background though.
Dang it.
So,
Yeah, no,
what do
Frank,
you
I
guys?
just build off what you said there. That's kind of what I was saying earlier. And he is unpredictable. Like he can get you to bite on a step back, and then he'll blow by you, or he'll act like he's gonna blow by you, and he steps back, and you're like spinning around with your back to him while he's draining a three. So I think he's become a little bit more unpredictable. You can try to control what he's gonna do, but you still can't really control him, if that makes sense.
Yeah, and I think you don't see him scoring in the same ways that we did last season. Last season, he had that pull up mid range off of drop coverage, and now like no one's playing drop coverage against him. They're either switching or they're blitzing him heavy. We saw some teams blitz him last season, but it's hard to blitz a guy when you have a 7'4" check down. But yeah, he's shown that. I mean, I've made this comparison before, and I'll do it again. But he reminds me of Luka Doncic. That like, okay, you're going to double team me. I'm just going to drag it out. I'm going to be patient. I'm going to find the open guy, and like I'm going to make you pay every single time. If you switch on me, okay, you're gone. I mean,
And I think PJ Thompson even made that player comparison.
He did. Yeah, and it made me feel less crazy because I've been saying it his entire career. But like how anyone can say he's not a great point guard, or even that he's not athletic, is like you haven't seen him play. Like he blows by guys to the rim all the time. And to say like, oh, he's not athletic, I mean, that's silly. That's really, really silly. He's lightning quick. He's the guy that like if he didn't play for Purdue, I would hate him. I would hate a guy that injects hypothetical things into his veins every time he hits a three. I would hate that.
Inject hypothetical things into his veins.
Yeah, it'd be like act like you've been there before. Come on, stop doing that.
Act like a pro.
When he does it, I'm like, yes, let's go. Keep doing that.
Just a little bias, not too much.
And I want to get your all's take. What do you guys think of the insertion of Cox? The insertion of first.
Come on.
I'm saying insertion.
Come on.
Use a different word. Oh, where's first when you need him? Oh my goodness.
Program.
As that came out of my mouth. Okay. So
I'm dead.
So we
tried to remix over it. It's not gonna happen.
Yeah. Colvin and Heidi have been removed. Cox and First have been put into the starting lineup. How do you guys feel like that has worked? Or has it worked? Has it not worked? I personally like it. I think Colvin's brought some good energy off the bench. I think he's hit some shots. Haven't seen that from Heidi. Heidi's dealt with some foul trouble lately. He hasn't really been able to find the rhythm, but I don't know. Dylan's got his hat over his.
I'm all right. I'm fine. Everything's fine.
And then Russ turned off. He didn't leave. He just turned off his camera. So Dylan, what do you think about the changes to the lineup?
Just
I promise that wasn't intentional. Just right as I said it, I think
whatever you say, Frank. No, I think you gotta spice things up every once in a while. You gotta keep them on their toes, if you know what I mean. And I swear, we are professionals. No, I think Paint's just gotta insert things where they need to go, and sometimes they gotta go in different places. And he's doing a good thing of changing things up and keeping things fresh, and that's really all you need in that type of situation. Back to you, Frank.
Yeah.
Oh, that's getting clipped. I'm clipping the everlasting hell out of that.
I completely lost my my train of thought there.
Is your wife nearby? I thought I heard her laugh.
I don't know. These are noise canceling headphones, so if you did, I can't hear it. So yeah.
Good Lord. Russ just called it a day.
Yeah, Russ just had to bail.
That's an all-time BXP moment. I'm glad.
Yeah.
But no, I think Paint's pretty good. I think this year too, he realizes, the different weapons we have coming off the bench, and he wants to utilize those and every way chance he get. And then I think against certain opponents, you can do that, and you can change things up, and maybe not against like a Rutgers or somebody like that, but against Northwestern, who's good. I mean, and the record shows it. But like, I don't know. Maybe I'm glad to see him trying different things, switching things out, because the quicker you find out those things earlier in the season, the best it'll come for you in March.
So Dylan, do you see it as a good or a bad thing that Purdue kind of has a big three? Because people seem to be like, well, yeah, you can count on Braden, Fletcher, TKR to get you 18 each, but 5 from everybody. Is that a good thing or a bad thing?
I think it's a good thing. I think it's good to keep, if you have, I mean, it's pretty obvious, but if you have a bunch of guys scoring a bunch of points, you're probably going to win that game, and you're probably going to win most games that happens. But I like it. I mean, either way, when you look at a big three is good. They're older, normally older guys, especially in college ball. Veteran classes, and but when you have, especially when you got a strong bench, I think that was one of the best things we had going during the Final Four run was a deep bench, and I still think, is it as deep as that team? Maybe not, but I think it's still pretty stellar. But I kind of like the idea of, no matter who's on the floor, there's a chance that scoring will be plentiful. I like that concept, because there's really no downtime or garbage time when you have, so many good shooters on and off the bench and on the floor, and vice versa.
And I think CJ Cox is a ticking time bomb too, because every time. Yeah, I can't even say his name now. But every single time he's the guy, so to speak, in garbage time or whatnot. He goes off.
Yeah.
He's like, okay, I'm gonna dribble into the lane. I'm gonna take a step back three. It's gonna go in. I'm gonna cross you over. I'm gonna get to the rim. I mean, it's crazy. Nice to have you back, Russ. Did the joke break your computer?
Apparently, and then I got back in time just for you to be back on Cox.
Yeah.
So
he exploded, I heard.
So Russ, I'd love to get your thoughts here as you return. We're talking about good.
I don't really want to comment on that.
We're talking about whether or not it's good or bad to have a big three like Purdue has.
A big three. Okay.
A big three.
Quit making it weird, Russ. It's over.
I think it's awesome. I think it's, like I was kind of hinting at that when I was talking about Braden being probably the best point guard in Purdue history, and Coffin Wren being possibly, one of the top 5 big men to play for Painter, and then Fletcher having one of the greatest 3-point seasons in Purdue history this year. So I when you talk about those being the big three, and we've got a veteran piece like First who's coming into his role, you've got CJ Cox and Jakari Harris, and even Raleigh Burgess getting a little more comfortable in their roles as freshmen. Plus Miles starting to score a little bit better. Yes, Cam Heide didn't have the most productive game against Northwestern, just 4 fouls.
He was in foul trouble. Yeah.
But I'm not worried about them finding them, because we've seen them do it last year, especially when it counted at times in the tournament. So, seeing the freshmen find their feet a little bit, seeing First, finally getting a role where I think he's going to flourish. And I feel like you're getting a little bit of kind of Belichick style coach speak when Painter's saying, it was matchup style. That's why First was in the starting lineup. Well, we've heard about him possibly being in the lineup, a lot this season before he finally got put in the starting lineup. And I think that might be more of the norm moving forward. And, Painter might still hide behind, well, that's the matchups you got to play in the Big Ten. But, I mean, you got teams like Michigan who are starting 2 7-footers. I don't know how you're going to not start First in a game like that. Maybe Berg sees some minutes in a game like that, but he seems like, maybe he's being relished to a bench role. Maybe he's just not 100% yet, and that's why he hasn't quite got back on the floor now. But, I think that the big three is awesome, and I think it makes it more consistent as far as a team perspective goes, that you're only then searching for, the other 10% of your scoring from another group of guys, that any one of them can step up and drop in 5 or 10 a game.
And it's not like they're not capable scorers either. That's
exactly.
I think that's the thing that people forget. But, Painter has said time and time again, I'm only going to run plays for my 3 best players. And I think last season that was obviously Zach Edey. And I mean, then it was kind of a toss-up, really, for like 2 and 3. I mean, and that's not measured in points per game. It's just measured in offensive ability. Like we saw later in the season, we're getting a lot of stuff for Gillis, a whole lot of stuff for Gillis, a lot of set action specifically to get him a shot. But I think that, let's talk about CJ, Cam Heide, Miles Coleman. Those guys are there to space the floor. Those guys are there
CJ
to
who?
create. See, CJ, number 0, he point guard.
0 what?
His
You know,
job.
I think they're more comfortable looking for their shot. You know, like you said, you know, they don't get the necessarily the play drawn up for them, but that Jakari Harris blow by layup against Northwestern, they forced the timeout by them. Like that's huge. That they're feeling comfortable now to find their shot that way. I think there's a little bit less pressure on a guy like Jakari Harris, who obviously comes from a pedigree that a lot's gonna be expected of him. You know, he's I think feeling a little bit more comfortable with the ball in his hands. He's feeling more comfortable matching up on defense, knowing what his assignment is, and that's only going to help us better, you know, come March. Like it's great that it got us a couple big wins, but you know, I'm already in the mindset of like, you know, what's our team going to look like in March, and how can we put out a product that is hard for any team to stop, no matter what our matchup or our draw is.
Agreed, yeah. And are you guys? I mean, this thing has been talked about a lot, but are you all concerned about Miles Coleman and Cam Heide right now? It's been all over Twitter, it's been all over Facebook, whatever form of social media you want to use. But you know, people are concerned. The sky is falling. These guys need to get more shots. They need to get more of this, more exposure. But what do you guys? Are you guys
Again,
concerned at all?
It's Purdue fans overreacting like they usually do. You know, there's so many, especially in basketball, there's a good amount of games, and guys aren't gonna go bananas every single game. Like, and the fact we have 2 really good guys in Colvin and Heidi, caught myself, is a good problem to have. I mean, hey, having really multiple really good players and some coming off the bench, it's not a bad problem to have. But that and one thing I noticed with Heidi, dude worked out a lot this summer. Like he was looking ripped last year, but this year this dude is shredded. He's looking badass. I wish I looked that good. I don't.
So let's
we're
talk
talking about it.
Upcoming games.
Well, I was gonna say too, like
games.
as far as scoring goes, Colvin's our 4th leading scorer, right? And Heidi's right there at 6th. You know, Heidi's over 5 points a game, Colvin just over 6 a game. So they might be kind of inconsistent, like you were talking about with Haas earlier, but they aren't our big 3, so they shouldn't be as consistent. Like they should kind of each have a game where they step up and drop in 5, 10, you know, or 20 like Colvin did against Mississippi. So
yeah, he won that game for us.
You're the only person I've ever met that called Ole Miss Mississippi.
And it didn't sound right when I said it. I don't think I'll ever do it again.
You said it, and I was like, "Who is he talking to?" Oh,
Russ too had a slip of the tongue that, you know, just yeah. So upcoming game.
Don't try to put me in the same spot you put yourself in there, Frank. That's not even close.
That was an all-time moment on this.
That's
podcast.
all timer,
so,
and I can't wait to watch it 100 times.
So Russ was on the Big Ten huddle earlier, just before the season started, and he predicted that Steve Peichel would be the coach most likely to be in the hot seat. And when those results were published on Twitter, Russ and some people kind of called you out and said, you know, you're crazy. What are you thinking? He's got not even 2 first-round picks, 2 top 5 picks, possibly number 1 overall pick. And now we're seeing it materialize. Like we're seeing Rutgers fans aren't happy. They're like, hey, this guy has 2 top 5 picks on his teams, and we're 500. I mean, so that's the team that Purdue is going to play. Now we play at I'm still going to call it the Rack. I refuse to call it Jersey Mike's Arena. It's just a place that hasn't been kind to Purdue recently. We had a grinder of a game there last year. Just an ugly, physical, just in-your-face type of game, which is what you expect from Rutgers. But Dylan Harper, 21 points per game. Ace Bailey, 19. After that, it drops to 7. Their third leading scorer averages 7. So those are 2 guys that you kind of have to look to slow down. Easier said than done. They're going to take contested shots. They're going to take step back threes with guys in their face, and they hit them. But how are you guys feeling about this game?
Ace Bailey is an elite name. That's a cool.
That's
name.
A guy destined for greatness, right there.
If you got a name like Ace and you play basketball, nonetheless, kind of cool. But Russ, take it away, brother.
Frank kind of led into what my thought process was behind, you know, Rutgers possibly being disappointing and Peichel maybe being on the hot seat was, yes, you know, Harper and Bailey are elite. You know, you're talking about 40 points a game between 2 freshmen. Who wouldn't want that on the roster? But he lost so much in the transfer portal, right? Mawat Mag, kind of blanking on some of the other names, but he lost
Amori.
Cliff Amore. And so it's more about where else is the help going to come from, and that's been the narrative. Anytime I've turned on Rutgers, it's like, hey, Bailey and Harper are great, but where are they going to get the help from? And they've been so great that even a shout out friend of the program, Raphael Davis, was on Twitter talking about, is a freshman going to win Big Ten Player of the Year this year? But my response would be, can you give a Big Ten Player of the Year award to a team that doesn't even make the Big Ten tournament? Because that's where Rutgers is right now, is being in the bottom 4 teams in the conference and not even playing in Chicago or Indy or wherever that Big Ten tournament is this year. So I don't know how you could do that. Like, it's great that you can fill up the stat sheet, but are you doing that just because there's nobody else on the team? Not only because you're a first round pick, but because there's nobody else that you trust to take shots.
I mean, the way I look at it is, you can stuff the stat sheet, but do you win and do you make your team better? And I think a great example of someone stuffing the stat sheet and not making their team better is Russell Westbrook when he was with the Thunder. Like, yeah, he averaged a triple-double, but he didn't make his team better. And I don't know the answer to that with these two guys. I'm sure they do. But that's what I would look for in my player of the year discussion. But one of the things I look at when I look at Rutgers on paper, they're not a great three-point shooting team. They're 208th in three-point shooting. So I expect them to, hit double their season average, which just always seems to happen. But they're really, really good at I totally lost what I was going at. They don't turn the ball over a lot, which is fascinating for me for a team who's playing 2 true freshmen for as many minutes as they are.
Yeah,
Purdue's done a better job in recent games of taking care of the basketball. But if you had to pick one area, whether it's rebounding, turnovers, defense, what's the biggest thing Purdue has to focus on to get a win in Piscataway?
I mean, I think they got to not let Rutgers get under their skin. I was commenting to you guys, I watched their Rutgers' most recent game where Harper didn't actually play the whole game. He's maybe a little bit banged up. I don't know how much that's going to affect him Thursday night, but Rutgers is very scrappy. I would say, if you told me Draymond Green coached them, I would not be surprised, because they do a lot of kind of like borderline chippy stuff that, if you can't keep your head on your shoulders, especially in a road game, could get to you. And honestly, like, I hope nobody gets hurt. Is, that's kind of the goal, is that, stay healthy till March, because I think this is a team that can make a run. And, that you had a guy in Klesmit with Wisconsin, their point guard, who had to leave the game against Rutgers because Williams on Rutgers stepped underneath him as he was taking a shot after the whistle had already been blown. Comes down on him, sprains his ankle, and has to go out for the game. So, like, and there was another foul or two in that game for the same thing, going under a shooter as they're landing. And, you do that to a Fletcher or Braden, and, dude, I'm I'm going to lose my mind.
Yeah, that wouldn't go well. And I think, to me, that embodies what Rutgers has been in recent years. They're tough. They're scrappy. They talk smack. They do. They're just a tough, scrappy team who, physicals their way through to wins, and it's not a good thing. It's not a bad thing. It's just the way they win, and it's worked for them. So yeah, I think you're right. I think we gotta stay level headed. I think and the good thing is these guys have been through that. They've been through that before. It's their third time. This junior group, maybe at least third time playing there, so they know what they're going to go into. The place is always loud. I know that the place is probably going to be sold out. They love playing Purdue. They have two upsets over Purdue there, so the fan base is going to show up. It's going to be a grinder for sure. And then we play a Nebraska team at home, who is not your typical Nebraska team. They're currently 32nd in KenPom, which is higher ranked than Maryland.
Yeah, shout out another take I had on the Big Ten Huddle before the season, that I thought Nebraska was going to be one of the surprise teams in the conference this year, and that's kind of playing out. And I say that because I tend to, from year to year, with the transfer portal, with NIL, with not knowing what you're getting with a freshman coming in, I bet more on a coach and their ability to mold their players into what their team needs and their program needs. And I think Hoiberg is one of the better coaches. I would say maybe even top 5 coaches in the Big Ten. And this Nebraska team is typical of the Nebraska teams we played in the past. Now, they don't have a, K-State Tominaga that could score 30 points on us, but they're going to be the kind of team that they're going to be elite at switching defensively, and they're going to be elite at making that second, third, fourth pass to get somebody open on offense because they don't care who takes the shot. And so we're going to be really tested on our defensive fundamentals because Northwestern kind of exposed that a little bit in the first half with some of those skip passes where they had a front court player kind of seal that backside defender, and they made a skip pass all the way across to an open three where they drained it. Like, Nebraska's going to see that on tape and go, hey, that's exactly the recipe we're going to use against Purdue and Mackey. So it's going to be there might be a star player that's going to tear us up. Yes, Juwan Gary's been playing well for him. But I think that it's just going to be testing our fundamentals and staying level-headed in that game just in a different way than what Rutgers is going to.
And I think the thing that sticks out to me most about Nebraska when looking at them on paper is, you go through their roster, fifth-year senior, junior, fourth-year senior. I mean, they're experienced, and they have guys who have played a lot of basketball, which we know matters a whole lot in college basketball. So, I think typically when I think Nebraska, I think, okay, that's a game Purdue probably wins by 10. But I don't think that's the case this season. I think the biggest thing Purdue has going for them is that it is at home, but the students are gone. That is the case, right? They don't come back to them. Classes resume Monday, so we'll see. And this game's on Sunday. But what are you thinking, guys? You thinking like a 7-point win, 5-point win? What sticks out in your mind as a possibility? And this is a team that is 10th in defense in KenPom currently, which blows my mind. How many top 20 defenses Purdue's played this season is just unreal.
Do you want to do like a final score?
Yeah, just margin of victory or margin of loss. We're not homers. Yeah.
I'm gonna go Purdue by 8 points.
Oh, okay.
I like it.
Not Boilers by a billion this time.
I mean, yes, Boilers by a billion. Yeah. I also got to break out my Boilers by a billion hat. I just retired it during football season.
Gotcha. Yeah, there weren't many games we won.
Indiana State, baby. But no, I'm going to go Boilers over Rutgers, 8 points. Russ, what do you say?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's going to be similar to some of these Big Ten battles we've had already where at halftime, now Northwestern won that case, but, a team like Minnesota where it's kind of close at halftime, but I'd expect us to pull away, and I still go by some of that old school math that, home court advantage should be 10 points in the Big Ten. And so if we're going to beat them on a neutral site, then at home we should be beaten by 10 or more. And so I'd expect maybe to struggle at halftime, but I'm kind of right there with Cody. Like, I'm thinking, we should pull away to a 10 or 12 point win in my mind.
So do you know what home court advantage is this year in college basketball?
I could not even guess because we've gotten,
it's shrinking
on the road. But
it's shrinking over time.
The trend, I would feel like the trend probably shrinks a little bit, but
currently this season it is 2.8 points per game.
Wow.
Yeah. So that was that is my math. My math that I've come to that number. If anyone wants to know how I got there, we can talk about that another time. But yeah, 2.8 points this season is home court advantage. So and KenPom actually published a blog today about how home court advantage is shrinking and due to the better consistency and officiating between home and away and all that. It's been a lot of it, but yeah, I honestly don't know. This Nebraska team is scary. They're experienced and they're deep, I think, is the other thing that we haven't talked about yet. They have a lot of guys, playing 14 minutes or more. I mean, so they're kind of taking this new school that we're seeing in the NBA approach where, you play 12 guys, but you play them fewer minutes. And so you're just constantly rotating in fresh bodies. So Hoiberg is a good coach. He's a fun coach. He's a good personality. And I think this is a game that could be closer than what we saw in Minnesota, where it mean that the score is closer longer, but I think it's a game Purdue wins by 4-5. Will be my final take. They did just beat UCLA by 8. So
yeah, and they just went to overtime with Iowa, but they're down 7 with a little bit over a minute left.
Ooh.
Oh. And that's at Iowa.
And they have a win against Creighton, a convincing win against Creighton too.
Yeah. And I'd say, honestly, I would say Mackey is if at least double what the national average is. So if you're saying we're at 2.8, I would say Mackey's at least a 6 or 7 point compared to the rest.
Well, Russ, I heard on local radio that playing at the Yum Center is 15 points. So
Yeah, right. Yeah. That has like
so
no
when
home atmosphere, that has no student section.
It looks like an NBA arena, doesn't it?
It is an NBA arena. Yeah, it's basically
it's bigger.
an NBA
It's
arena.
bigger than most NBA arenas.
Really?
Like, they sit like 22,000 or something like that.
Yeah,
Why?
yeah, it's crazy. So when you
Do they
win by
fill half
5,
of
does that
that?
mean you actually lost by 10? Is that how that works? Like,
I mean,
It's
do they fill half of that even?
no, they're filling out games now.
Oh, really?
Yeah, they are now. Last year they were not. Last year,
No, last year they were under 2,000.
They got
attendance.
their I can't remember their coach's name, but he has like the big glasses.
Pat Kelsey.
Yeah, Pat
he's
Kelsey.
doing really well. He's fun. He's energetic.
Oh,
Yeah, I remember
Kelsey
him being
was
like a PJ Fleck vibe.
Yes, very much so.
Small,
I
white,
never-
bald guy.
Never put that together until now, but yeah, he's very
Well done.
energetic. He's
Well done,
always he's never like angry. He's like happy all the time. He's like
Ski
happy.
you, Ma, row the boat. Whatever
Yeah.
other used car salesman thing I can come up with.
Well, now
I did wanna-
yeah. Because he got the-
That was a
mayo
legend.
bowl.
Him getting dunked mayo with mayonnaise was wild.
Oh, gross.
I would puke. Yeah,
If you couldn't
mayonnaise.
get any whiter, well, here's some mayonnaise.
I like mayo on a BLT, but that's probably about it.
I did want to talk about the comment here. Did you guys hear about the Lady Boiler commit that had a quintuple double?
I saw that
I
on the
did.
Twitter streets
I
today.
did, yeah.
You
41
also know
points,
that his
18
two older
rebounds,
sisters
12
are already on
assists.
Purdue's roster.
Oh, really?
Wow, look at that.
18 rebounds, 12 assists, 11 steals, and 10 blocks. Like,
What is she? 25? Is she coming in next? year?
and is she the only player on the team? Like, I mean,
You're also
that's-
missing a stat there. That's only. Oh no, you have the points. I'm sorry. I'm
Yeah,
48.
41
Yeah,
points.
Russ.
Continue.
Jeez.
Like, if you were to take any 2 of those, that's impressive. If you were to take any 3 of those, that's incredibly impressive. All 5.
But like, who'd they
Oh,
play?
yeah.
Like some blind high school?
Do you guys remember when LaMelo Ball scored 100 in high school?
Yeah, I
Anyone
do.
remember that?
I
It's
remember.
Yeah, but even then, you usually don't see a 5 category double figures. I mean, that's you see high points, and I was gonna say that it's 14 points, not 41. You flip the points. I thought it was all less than 20, which I think to me is more impressive.
I agree. Yeah, doing everything. Yeah. Well, we're getting near that hour mark. Anything else to talk about before we sign off?
No, I already roasted Northwestern wearing gold and black.
I don't think we need to
Yeah,
insert
no, that
anything
was,
else into the conversation.
Yeah, nothing to.
Yeah, nothing else to insert, Frank.
No, nothing else. Yeah,
Okay.
nothing else to add from me. We'll see.
Okay.
Yeah.
Sometimes guys like to add a few. You never know. They like to cheat the system. I swear I hear your wife somewhere. Someone's wife is laughing.
Yeah.
I've heard it every time. It's just in the background, like, aha, and I know it's not me. Anyway, so boys, it was good to be back. It'd been a few weeks. We had a little Christmas, a little New Year's break. It was real nice. I think I'm going back to work tomorrow. I don't know. We got a 2-hour delay right now. Been off since the 20th, and I am bored. I am dying of boredom. I need some routine in my life. So hopefully we go back tomorrow. But boys, it's good seeing your handsome faces. Good hearing your handsome voices. Frank gave us just an all-time moment on tonight's episode. One I will never forget, and that I will clip, and that I will watch no less than 400 times. So with all that being said, ladies and gentlemen, happy 2025. It's good to see you on the other side of this year from last year. That's how years work. Hey, first pod of the year, boys. Look at that. First pod of 2025. So everyone have a great night. We appreciate you tuning in. You get it.
I'm about to turn in. You know that.
Boiler up, hammer down,
Right on.
hail Purdue.
Get the wins.